For more on this horrific scene, we're going to welcome in Dr. Corey Hebert with the LSU Tiger School of Medicine. Good morning, Dr. Hebert. Thank you for joining us. Can you just walk us through a timeline of what you saw? I know it's really hard to diagnose without seeing any sort of information, but what you see on a TV screen.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, first of all, I mean, this is a tragedy. Let's say that. But when you saw the hit, right, you saw the blunt force trauma to the left side of the chest. And what I've discussed this with my ER colleagues, I'm also ER, is that this is probably something called commotio cordis. Now, commotio cordis literally in Latin means agitation of the heart. So what happens is that you have a blunt force trauma to the left side of the chest, and that's over the heart, right? That will disrupt the myocardium just enough so that the electrical impulses will be distributed unevenly throughout the myocardium, which makes the heart go into a really horrible arrhythmia called ventricular fibrillation, which means that the heart isn't working appropriately. Now, what I can do is kind of give you an analogy. It's like a car. When you have like a car, you have spark plugs, and those spark plugs have to fire in just the perfect order for that engine to run. The heart is full of electrical impulses that are very much like that. So if they're disrupted in any way, that's called an arrhythmia. So a fatal arrhythmia can be many, but this one probably ventricular fibrillation and ventricular possibly tachycardia as well, leading to that. But what happens is that your heart just doesn't work properly. And what happens is that you must do CPR immediately, but also try to get an AED, or you need to cardiovert this person so that their electrical impulses will flow in the right order. But in the meantime, your heart's not working. And that's the problem that we see here right now, because if your heart's not working, your body's not getting oxygen. And that means your brain's not getting oxygen. So for 9 minutes, they are trying to push the oxygenated blood that's in his body close to his brain so that he can just have oxygen throughout the body.
And Dr. Hebert, I understand they did CPR then for 9 minutes. Is that essentially them making his heart beat for him because his heart is not beating on its own?
Yes, correct. Because the heart is just not beating. It's basically shaking. And what's happening is that you're not perfusing the body and you're not perfusing the brain. And that's not why now he is intubated. People don't understand sometimes what intubation means. It means that you take a tube and you stick it in the mouth down to the trachea to the lungs. And then you put a machine on, a ventilator, which will give his heart the ability to oxygenate his body so that he can have oxygen to the brain. See, when you are not getting oxygen to the brain for 9 minutes, then that's what we're mostly concerned about now, because that can cause irreversible anoxic brain injury. And we all can kind of understand the etymology of those words. And that's what we do not want to see, meaning that the brain did not get enough oxygen and for a long enough time where he can't be back to normal. And that is what we do not want to see.
Well, you have to be concerned about things you read on the internet, but I did go to the Corey Stringer Institute. It's from the University of Connecticut. So hopefully it is a good source. But what I was reading about commotio cordis is that it's not just about where he's hit, it's about the time in the heart's pumping cycle at which he is hit. So apparently when the beginning of the T wave, now this is getting down in the weeds, but the refilling of the heart's ventricles, when it is going to be refilled by that beat of the heart, it doesn't refill because it is shocked. So the blood isn't in there and the heart just sort of stops. So I guess what I'm saying is this happened. This is something we know about, but it is about impact, location, and timing. It all has to come together all at once for this to be a condition to cause somebody to collapse like this. Do I have that correct?
That is correct. And think about it is, the blow doesn't have to be that harsh. It doesn't have to be that severe. Matter of fact, we've known about this for hundreds of years, because there was actually an Asian fighter that would term it the touch of death. Because if you time it just perfectly and hit the heart in such a way to make that V-fib happen, then the ventricle will not fill, and that oxygenated blood, which is in the left ventricle, will not be dispersed to the body. And that is when you don't have oxygen and you have cardiac arrest. And that is what we think probably happened here with this young man. But I mean, we have gladiators out there fighting every day. And when they don't make a good play, we yell at them and say, oh, what are they thinking about? But this puts it all in perspective, that they are out there fighting every day for our entertainment. And at any point, they could have something like this, and then they could have very significant morbidity or mortality. So we need to kind of keep that together from anybody that plays Pop Warner football all the way to the NFL, anybody who's a fan to anybody that played. This is something that we have to look at the safety of football, and we have to look at it very closely because these things can happen all the time. They just happen not to.
I'm glad you clarified that about the impact, because I was reading again about commotio cordis, and a lot of what happens is a player is struck with a baseball. And, you know, that's a very hard object coming off a bat. That's very hard. And in baseball, they wear no padding. It can also happen in lacrosse, where perhaps the padding is a little bit smaller, but that ball is very hard. In football, they wear a ton of padding. So, and this looked like a garden variety everyday hit of, you know, a shoulder being lowered into a chest. It happens all the time. In fact, I do want to warn our audience, we're going to show the injury and the collapse. And Dr. Hebert, I would like you to walk us through what you see. But again, if you are unprepared for this, if this makes you uncomfortable, please look away. We are going to show this now. So let's roll it. And Dr. Hebert, just feel free to step in here and speak whenever you feel. There's T. Higgins. He catches the pass. That is Hamlin, number 3. He takes the impact. He stands up, and he takes a few steps, and then he's down. So that is what we are seeing. So Dr. Hebert, take it away.
Right. So if you can see very clearly that the left part of his chest was the impact of which he made that tackle. And the impact of that, which was not a huge impact, is because we've seen much more severe impacts. But when you see the tackle right here, you'll see it. Boom. That's
left side of the chest, just as you're saying.
Of the chest. And that is why you have this commotio cordis at that particular time, this disruption of the ventricular muscle that will cause you to have this ventricular fibrillation. But like I said, the reason why it happens most of the time in young people playing sports is because when you're young, you increase your time that you're playing sports, because when you're older, you do not play sports that have contact this way. But also young boys, because their chest wall is usually thinner, which will allow that impact to affect the heart muscle just a little bit more than a big athlete who has a big pectoral muscle. But these men, as you can see, they always have on chest protection in the form of shoulder pads. So it's just the right hit at the wrong time, at the exact moment that can disrupt this heart. And that's why it doesn't happen all the time. But the possibility of it happening is a lot more than we think. And the key, that's why we have AEDs on the football field, because when you have the fib, which can be a fatal arrhythmia, you've got to get those spark plugs, if you will, back in timing order. A lot of folks that know
Dr.
about cars,
let me just step in here. The AED is the automatic external defibrillator. So that is, you're shocking somebody. It's a box, and it's got paddles, and you shock somebody to get their heart back into rhythm, right?
That is correct. And so that rhythm has to be firing like spark plugs in a car in the right order. And a lot of folks don't realize that your heart is full of electrical impulses that generate from something called the AV node. And when you have those electrical impulses, they have to go in the right order. And that left ventricle has to work perfectly. And that left ventricle has to fill with blood to go out of the aorta to be dispersed to the body with oxygenated blood. And the longer that you do not have that, the more the chance that you will have brain injury that is irreversible. And that will also obviously cause you to collapse the way he did. And people that watch football, people that play football, you saw that everybody rushed to the field immediately, because that is something you do not see. I've been a doctor for over a quarter of a century, ER doctor, and have worked on football, on sports medicine field, all this types of stuff. I've never seen CPR truly performed on the football field. And one of the scariest things, and think about this too, when a hit first like this happens, right? We're all very concerned about cervical injury, like spinal injury. So you can't really move the patient because we're concerned about that. But how do you really do CPR with shoulder pads on? How effective can that be? How fast can we remove those shoulder pads, but without moving the body? Because we didn't know immediately if it was a cardiac issue or if it was a cervical spine issue. So these doctors that went and saw that person on the field and saw him yesterday, they had to make some very quick decisions. I think they did the best they could, because they recognized that this was probably not a cervical spine injury, which we still don't know 100% if it's not. but we recognize that it's probably a cardiac injury, and they did the best that they could do because they had to wait on the AED to see if they could actually cardiovert him back into normal sinus rhythm to save his
One
life.
more note about the immediate defibrillation that's necessary, whether it be from an AED or from CPR. According to the Corey Stringer Institute, again from the University of Connecticut, for every 1 minute in delay in getting shocked or getting that heart back into rhythm, there is a 10% decline in survival rate. So I understand that he was conscious. They sedated him. They intubated him to make sure that he was oxygenated. Is this now? Does it look like there will be that he's going to survive? You know, it's tough for me to ask you this because you're not there. But do we expect him to survive this injury, given how much time he was on the field and given the severity of any time your heart stops and oxygen stops flowing all over your body?
Well, one thing you've seen on social media, everyone was saying that his vitals were stable and that he was not breathing on his own, but that he was intubated. That could be very misleading. And the reason why is because, yes, your vitals are stable because we're giving you medicine and we're providing you with enough oxygen and we're making your lungs go up and down with this mechanical ventilation and we're keeping your heart beating. So there's no way for us to know, is his heart beating on his own? On its own? Are his lungs perfusing on their own, and those types of things, there's no way to know. But what I will say is that the odds of him having no oxygen, or if he was having true VFib for 9 minutes, the amount of injury, as you mentioned, from the Corey Stringer Institute, the amount of injury to the brain at that point, could be irreversible. And that is something that we will know as this day and this next couple of days come. But it's just tragic because if that 9 minutes is true, meaning that there was no oxygen to the brain for 9 minutes, you almost can't come back for that. And what we're not trying to do is claim that right now. What we're trying to do is put this in the hands of the forces that make sure that these things you can really have a full recovery. But right now that doesn't look like what would happen.
Well, we hope that CPR did allow the blood to flow a little bit, did oxygenate the brain, and that worst case scenario doesn't come true. But the fact is, we don't know. So thank you for that. That's Dr. Corey Hebert with the LSU Tiger School of Medicine. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. But we are